Welcome back to the Annville Church of the Brethren Ukulele Choir instructional videos as we've been recording them. This is the second installment of these instructional videos, and we are glad that you've come back to learn another song with us. If you happen to stumble upon this video on YouTube, we're glad that you are here as well. And we enjoy sharing this journey with you, and we're glad that you're going to be learning some of these songs as well. This is the second installment, and I wanted to begin by saying some of the lessons I learned from the first video. The first lesson of which is, in the first video, I made multiple parts for the songs. I had chords, I had lead, I had a melody part. And really, what we learned was that as we used the song in church, and as we sat down as a group together, most of us were able to do the chords together, but the rest of the parts we just found confusing. So we ended up sticking just with the chords and not using the other parts, which actually I think ended up sounding much better than what it would have sounded like if we had tried to go with the different parts. So one of the lessons here that I had to learn and that I think is valuable is don't try to get too fancy with what it is that you're doing if you're starting a ukulele choir at your own church. Keep it as simple as possible. And this allows more people to become part of it, and it makes it easier to have the congregation join in worship with you, because that's really what we're doing here. Is we're not doing a performance, we're really helping to lead worship. So one of the second lessons that we learned that kind of came about by accident is that we had the congregation sing along with us. That actually, what was cool about it was it invited the congregation to be part of that worship experience with us and kind of part of that song with us. And it allowed us all to be in worship together, where they kind of all were part of the ukulele choir, even if they weren't necessarily holding a ukulele. And I actually thought that was wonderful. And so as I was looking at a song for us to do this time, I wanted to find a song that was going to be easy for the congregation to sing along with, and also easy for us to learn with some basic chords. We had 8 people that joined with us on our first attempt as a ukulele choir at church, and out of those 8 people, 5 who ventured into that with us had never really picked up ukulele or played ukulele before, or maybe had many years ago and then decided to pick it up again. So keeping it simple is really easy. And so with this song, I wanted to find a song that was going to be easy for us to learn, number one, that was going to be familiar to the congregation, and was going to help teach some lessons for us as ukulele players along the way. And so I looked through a lot of my resources and binders of music from praise bands past. And what I came up on that I think is going to work great is this song, which is called "When We Walk with the Lord." Some call it "Trust and Obey," is how it's titled in some hymnals. And it's a very familiar hymn, at least in Church of the Brethren, and hopefully it is in your congregations as well. And the reason that I like this song, and the reason that I want to do this song, is it is a 4-chord song. One of the secrets about contemporary music and kind of popular secular music as well is that really, while people try to make us think that they're doing something new and innovative, they're really not. Most every song is actually a 4-chord pattern, or uses some variation of a 4-chord pattern in some key. And so once you learn that pattern, you can actually play almost any contemporary Christian song out there, and really almost any of the popular secular songs as well. So I looked at the different keys that we could put this in to make it easy for us to learn as a ukulele choir. What was going to be the easiest fingering? And then once we learn these chords, what would be the easiest for us to build on as ukulele players, where we could incorporate these songs or these chords into more and more songs as we learn them. So I decided that these are the 4 chords for our 4-chord pattern that we're going to learn in this video. It's C and A and G and F. Now, what you'll notice is that 2 of those chords, C and A minor, I should say, not A, they only use 1 finger pushing down on 1 fret. So 2 of those chords are as easy as they come. The F chord, you only need 2 fingers pushing down on 2 frets. The G is the only one that might be a bit tricky, and that to me feels pretty familiar in my fingers. It feels pretty easy. Hopefully it will to you as well, because you don't have to cram them all across the same fret. They're spaced out a little bit to make it a little bit easier. But these are the 4 chords that we're going to build from. Now, as I've said in videos in the past, before you actually begin, the first thing that you want to do is make sure that you are in tune. Get yourself one of these handy dandy clip-on tuners so that when you turn it on, and when you are in tune, it's going to turn green or some other color. There'll be some other way that it'll indicate it based upon what tuner that you have. It's the easiest way to make sure that you're in, that you are in tune. Now, there's no sense in really learning how to play a chord or how to play a song if you don't start out in tune. It's not going to sound right. It's going to sound like something is off because it is off in the tuning. So always start with your tuning first. The first chord that we're going to learn is C. C is just one finger. I actually end up using my pinky more than any. You can use whatever finger is going to feel easiest for you. So I take my pinky, I put it down on the 3rd fret of what I call the bottom string, so towards the bottom of the ukulele. And then when you strum, you're already playing a chord. I mean, that's the easiest thing to learn right there. That's a C. And then there is A minor. So for A minor, I typically use my middle finger. That goes on the 2nd fret of the top string, so towards the top of the ukulele. Let me try to position that so you can see it. It goes right there. And again, you're already playing a chord with just one finger. That's all you need. Now the F, if you go from the A minor, so you keep that finger in the same place, you don't move it, 2nd fret of that top string, then you take your pointer finger and you can put it on the 1st fret of the 3rd string down. So like this. So there's your A minor, there's your F, and that's the F chord that we're going to use. And then the G, I start out with my pointer finger on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string down from the top. I take my ring finger and I put it on the 3rd fret of the 3rd string down. And I take my middle finger and I put it on the 2nd fret of this bottom string, and you have your G. Now, what you're going to see is that at some point in the song, I add a note to that chord. You don't have to play the song. But what sounds interesting sometimes is if you're playing that G chord, and if you want to get a little bit fancy, you can take your pinky and stick your pinky down on the 3rd fret of that bottom string. So this is your G, and then if you add in the pinky, it sounds like this. It's that easy. So to review, we have our C, we have our A minor, we have our F, and we have our G. And that's all the chords that you really need to have to be able to play so many songs. So you can get the song sheets off the website. The website, if you're on YouTube, I'll put it in a link down below this video. You can go to the website. You can find the song sheet there. And the song begins on C. That's the strum pattern. And we're going to use that same strum pattern throughout this whole song. That's how we're going to begin it. It's just by staying on that chord until we all come in together. When we walk with the Lord in the light of His word, what a glory He sheds on our way. Here's the pinky. When we do His good will, He abides with us still, and with all who will trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus, but you trust and obey. Not a burden we bear, not a sorrow we share, but our toil he doth richly repay. Here's the thinky again. Not a grief nor a loss, not a frown nor a cross, but is blessed if we trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus, but you trust and obey. But we never can prove the delights of his love until all on the altar we lay. For the favor he shows and the joy he bestows are for them who will trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus, but you trust and obey. Then in fellowship sweet, we will sit at his feet, or we'll walk by his side in the way. What he says we will do, what he sends we will go. Never fear, only trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus, but you trust and obey. It was back around about 2000 that I first started at McPherson College, and one of the first classes that I took, having not been part of Church of the Brethren, was a membership class in the church there in McPherson, and it was one of the retired college professors that taught it. And he actually had us sing this hymn. This hymn was very important to us, and used it to teach some basic principles about what it meant to be a Christian and kind of following Jesus and obeying Jesus. And it's something that stuck in my head. And I can't help but think that as he looks down, he's long since passed on now, but as he looks down from heaven, he must be pleased to see a new generation picking up this hymn and making it their own. I'm glad that you joined us for this video. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to reach out and contact me. I'm glad that you picked up a ukulele and are playing. If you're part of our church, I am so glad to have you along on this journey with us, and I'm so grateful that you're willing to do this with me. If you happen to be happening upon this video on YouTube, I'm glad you took the time to watch and to play along with me. Thank you so much, and have a blessed evening.